Good day, folks, and welcome back to the channel. And today we are going to look at a bike I've been wanting to take out and ride, and that is the 2024 Breakout. But before we have a look at that, we have a viewer bike to look at. This is John from Hamilton's 2023 Fat Boy. This bike has a stage 3, putting out 120 horsepower and 150 foot-pounds of torque. This fatty has a 2-into-1 Reinhardt exhaust, custom seat, mirrors, grips, and mustache guard. Very nice looking machine, and thanks to John for sending that in. And if you want to see your bike in a video, send me a pic and I'll get it up on the channel. My email address is in the description to this video. So here we are at Prairie Harley Davidson, located just outside of Regina, Saskatchewan, and this is the 2024 Breakout. Now, I consider this bike to be the cousin of the Fat Boy. The back end of this bike has very similar specs as the Fat Boy, and this specific model is in the Blue Burst color. It also comes in 4 other colors: the base billiard gray, vivid black, white onyx pearl, and alpine green. The Breakout only comes in a chrome trim. Now, one of the highlights of this bike is the 117 cubic inch Milwaukee 8 engine that puts out 101 horsepower and 123 foot-pounds of torque. The motor also comes with the forward-facing heavy breather intake. Another highlight is the wheels. The front and rear are 26-spoke cast aluminum. The front wheel is 21 inches with a 130 tire, while the rear has an 18-inch wheel with a 240 tire, much the same as the Fat Boy. These tires are also shared with the Fat Boy, as they are Michelin Scorchers. This bike weighs in at 683 pounds in running weight and is just over 7.5 feet long. It is also a low motorcycle with 4.5 inches of ground clearance and a seat height of just over 26 inches. This bike has a slightly stretched and chromed look with a rake of 34 degrees and a wheelbase of 66.7 inches. The Breakout has a 5-gallon fuel tank that has a chrome console. However, the gauge on this bike is not in the dash. The gauge is a 2.14 LCD inch screen located on the handlebar risers. But enough talk about it. Let's get on this bike and we'll see how she rides. So we finally have a really nice day today to take this bike out. I'm not sure if the camera will pick it up, but if you look out in the distance, it may look a little hazy. That haze is smoke from various forest fires blown in from Alberta and BC. I guess that's what you get when you live in a country with vast forests. I thought I would just mention the smoke just in case the video seems a little bit foggy. The first impression I had of this bike, just looking at it and knowing what the specs were, was that it may be a little interesting handling-wise and the comfort may not be too good. But I can tell you that right off the bat, my impressions were incorrect. Let's first talk about the handling of this bike. I was wondering what the ride would be like with that 240 tire in the back and a 130 in the front, but I found this bike to handle excellent, actually surprisingly well. Maybe I'm just used to the wide tires, but I had no issue at all on turns, even with the 34-degree rake, and the bike tracked perfectly straight as well. Now, performance on this bike was excellent as well. As I said earlier, this bike has the 117 Milwaukee 8 engine. Having had a lowrider S with a 117 previously, I did not think that this motor would impress me, but I was wrong on that one. This bike moves very fast for a 680-pound Harley cruiser, and it picks up speed very quickly. I told the salesman after that I felt like this bike was even faster than my Lowrider S with a Stage 1. He said that's quite possible because Harley had done some slight modifications on the heads on the 2024 117s. At any rate, I was impressed with the power. The other thing to mention is the heavy breather intake that sticks out the side. I'm not sure if they have done something with this as well. On my Lowrider, my leg was very close to the air cleaner, but on the Breakout, I had about 1 inch to 1.5 inches of clearance, enough so that I did not even notice the heavy breather was there. And that was another thing that I did not expect. The comfort on this bike was interesting. The seat was quite comfortable. It is a soft, almost spongy bucket-style seat. The Breakout has forward controls, which I do like, and it also has foot pegs, which I could take or leave. The biggest issue was the handlebars. You sit a little further back in this seat, and it is a little bit of a reach to the bars. If I was to buy this bike, I would look at risers with maybe a couple more inches of pullback and maybe a couple more inches of height. As for wind protection, like pretty much all the Softails, this bike has none. I'm not too sure with that headlight up front what a windshield would actually look like on this bike, but I guess that remains to be seen. Now, someone might ask the question, is this bike good for a short rider? With the low seat height, I would say yes. However, in stock form, with the forward controls, the seat that sits you further back, and the reach for the bars, it would be a stretch for a shorter person. But with some modification, you should be fine. The suspension on the Breakout was very smooth. With the monoshock on these Softails, you can easily hand adjust the dial to the perfect preload. The front suspension is the 49 dual bending valve telescopic forks that also work quite well. As well, the braking was fine on this bike with single discs in the front and rear. As for exhaust, this bike has a 2-into-2 staggered shotgun type exhaust, pretty much the same as the Fat Boy has. And it was also pretty much the same as all the other models I've been on. In other words, in stock form, it is very quiet. And on the highway, you will not even hear it. As for the shifting, it has your standard Harley 6-speed transmission. It is smooth, and I had no issue finding neutral. Now, the gauge is not what I'm used to, as it is just a small screen mounted on the riser clamp. It shows your digital speedometer, gear, odometer, fuel level, clock, trip, tack, and fuel range. It's nothing fancy, but it shows what you need. And I'm not a big tech and electronics guy anyway, so it was completely fine with me. This specific model had incandescent lights for the stop, tail, and turn signals, and a big LED headlight out front. And one thing I can say about the Breakout is that I do not like the styling of the headlight. There is really just nothing to it. Overall, I was very impressed with this bike. It actually exceeded my expectations. This was a very fun bike that I could have rode for a very long time. It was faster than expected, and also more comfortable than expected, minus the slight reach for the handlebars, and it handled better than I thought it would also. If you are looking for a performance cruiser from Harley, do not sleep on this one. It has the power you want, but it is also a stripped down machine that gives you that kind of badass feel with its low, raked, and chromed out look. Again, I was just surprised by the Breakout, and I think you would be too. If you get a chance, take one of these guys out for a test ride, and it may just exceed your expectations. Now, before I go, I have to give a shout out to Prairie Harley Davidson just outside of Regina, Saskatchewan, for letting me take this bike out. They are an independent, locally family-owned and operated business. Dealers like this should be getting our support. If you're interested in checking them out, I will leave their contact information in the description to this video. And that will be it for today, folks. So we will see you in the next one.